There is a quiet assumption that many people carry with them, often without questioning it, that when we die, those we have loved and lost will be waiting for us on the other side, standing like patient guardians in some vast, eternal station. We imagine them standing still, perhaps on the shore of a great river, scanning the horizon for our arrival. It is a comforting image, deeply human in its sentiment. Yet, spiritual teachings, those whispered through mediums, recorded in trance by visionaries like Edgar Cayce, and echoed in countless mystical traditions, suggest a different reality. When the soul leaves the body, it does not pause its journey simply to wait. It continues onward, drawn by the same pull that brought it into existence in the first place, the call to grow, to expand, to experience the full spectrum of consciousness. Death is not the end of the story. It is merely the turning of a page. And for those who have passed before us, the page they are now reading is part of their own chapter, not ours. Cayce himself spoke of realms beyond the physical, each vibrating at different frequencies, each filled with its own lessons, communities, and work to be done. Souls in these planes are not idle. They are engaged, sometimes joyfully, sometimes in deep contemplation, in the unfolding of their own destinies. Just as we have our earthly purposes, they have theirs. The idea that they would simply stand motionless, gazing toward the veil, waiting decades or centuries for our arrival, does not align with the dynamism of the soul's journey. Think for a moment about life here. Even in the midst of loving someone deeply, we still have our own tasks to complete. A parent may love their grown child, but still tends to their own work, their own friendships, their own learning. The relationship continues, but it does not mean abandoning one's own path. Why should the afterlife be any different? Our departed loved ones do not forget us. Far from it. They hold the essence of their connection with us like a cherished ember in the heart. But love, in its highest form, is not about clinging. It is about trust. And so they trust that we will live out the life we chose before birth, the one written into the subtle fabric of our soul's design. We may not consciously remember this purpose, but it reveals itself in the passions we cannot ignore, the challenges we cannot escape, and the quiet longing that stirs when we feel there is something more. Some spiritualists describe the afterlife as layered, like concentric circles of experience. In each layer, souls meet others whose current state of consciousness resonates with theirs. This is why immediate reunions do not always happen. Our loved ones may be walking a path in a different layer, a place we cannot yet reach until we ourselves have completed the lessons we came here to learn. This is not separation in the human sense. It is more like two travelers on different trails who will eventually meet at a high mountain pass, each arriving by their own route, in their own time. If you carry grief, this truth can feel cold at first. It challenges the warm, cinematic idea of a grand reunion just beyond the veil. But it offers something far greater in return, the understanding that your life here truly matters. That every choice, every trial, every triumph is not just a delay before the real experience begins, but part of the eternal story itself. The ones you love want you to live it fully, not to hurry through it, not to keep looking backward, but to walk forward into the fullness of what your soul intended when you stepped into this world. In this way, love does not diminish across the boundary of death, it deepens. It becomes less about shared time and more about shared destiny, knowing that one day, in the right moment and the right place in the great expanse beyond time, your paths will converge again. To understand why souls move on after death, we must step outside the narrow frame of human time. Here, in the physical world, years feel long. Decades can feel like lifetimes, and waiting for someone you love can be an ache that lingers for what seems an eternity. But for the soul, time is not measured in hours or seasons. It is measured in growth, by the degree to which the spirit has expanded, integrated lessons, and moved toward the higher states of being that are its natural inheritance. Edgar Cayce, in his readings, often described the afterlife as a series of planes or spheres, each with its own work, communities, and atmosphere. The transition between these spheres is not arbitrary. It happens when the soul is ready. In these realms, one does not simply sit idly in a waiting room of eternity. The very nature of the soul is movement, creation, and the pursuit of harmony with the divine source. Imagine for a moment that this life is like a vast school. When you finish one grade, you do not simply sit in the hallway waiting for your friends to finish theirs. You move on to the next level, learn new things, meet new people, and continue your own progression. If a loved one remains in a lower or higher grade, you will not see them for a time, but eventually, as each reaches the same level, you reunite. This is how the soul's journey works, except on a far grander scale, beyond the physical, beyond what the mind can hold. Some spiritual teachers suggest that after death, the soul is drawn toward environments that reflect its current state of consciousness. A person who cultivated deep compassion, wisdom, and love in life may find themselves in a realm of harmony and light, surrounded by like-minded spirits engaged in higher work. Another soul, still working through certain lessons, may enter realms where those lessons are lived out in ways beyond our earthly understanding. The placement is not a judgment. It is simply resonance, the way two tuning forks of the same pitch vibrate together. Because of this, our loved ones may be traveling through experiences that we cannot yet join. They may be working in what Cayce described as the Hall of Records, assisting in the guidance of souls still incarnated on earth. Others may be learning from master teachers in planes of knowledge, exploring the mysteries of creation itself. Some may even be preparing to return to the physical world for another lifetime, continuing their soul's unfolding. They do not stay in one place, because the soul is not meant to stagnate. Waiting without movement would be a kind of spiritual death, and the soul, being of the divine, cannot stop growing. Even the act of reunion in the afterlife is not a static moment. It is an intersection in the ongoing journey of two travelers. We meet, we share, and then we both continue on. This is why no one truly waits, in the sense we often imagine. Love, on the soul's level, trusts the process so completely that it does not cling in fear of loss. Your loved ones know you will come when your path here is complete, when you have gathered the experiences, challenges, and moments that your soul set out to collect before birth. Until then, they live their life beyond the veil, just as you live yours here, fully, dynamically, and with purpose. In the great tapestry of existence, no thread stands still. The weaving is constant, the design ever unfolding, and each soul, yours, mine, and those we love, moves forward in its own perfect rhythm. If there is one truth that the soul carries into and out of this life, it is that existence itself is sacred, not just the shining moments of joy, not only the great achievements, but the entire path, the struggles, the quiet days, the conversations you barely remember, the small kindnesses that seem too ordinary to matter. Every breath you take here is part of a design so vast that no human mind can hold it in full. This is why your life now is not simply a waiting room for what comes next. It is the very ground where your soul's purpose takes root. The work you do here, whether it is raising a child, helping a neighbor, tending to your own healing, or simply smiling at a stranger, echoes far beyond your awareness. We cannot measure the ripple of our actions, but they move outward, touching lives we may never meet. A word you spoke years ago might still be keeping someone alive today. A kindness you thought forgotten might still be growing in another person's heart. The philosophers have long said that a human being cannot truly know the extent of their influence. And the mystics add, nor should they. For if we could see the full scope of what we've done for others, the humility of the soul would be overcome by the pride of the ego. Instead, The universe hides this knowledge from us, allowing us to keep moving forward in sincerity, not in self-congratulation. Your loved ones who have crossed over understand this better than anyone. From their vantage point, they can see the pattern of your life unfolding, how your smallest choices weave into the great tapestry of the whole. They do not wish for you to rush toward them, because they know that your chapter here is not yet complete. To leave it unfinished would be to abandon a story that only you can tell, a melody only you can sing. In the spiritual realms, there is no fear of time running out. There is only trust that each soul will arrive when the journey is whole. And so those you love most send you blessings, not invitations to hurry. They want you to savor the taste of sunlight on your skin, the sound of laughter in a quiet room, the feeling of wind in your hair. They want you to say yes to life in all its imperfect beauty, to take the risks that matter, to keep loving even when it hurts. For when the day comes, whether soon or far, you will cross that invisible threshold, not as someone who escaped life, but as someone who lived it to its depths. And there, in a place where no distance remains, you will meet them not as someone who was left behind, but as a fellow traveler returning home, bringing with you the fullness of all you became. And perhaps then you will see, as they see now, that every moment you lived, every single one, was a thread of light in the eternal fabric, and that the world is forever different because you were here. So live with the courage to be present, live with the faith that what you do matters, even if you never see how. Live knowing that love is not diminished by time or distance, it is only perfected. And know, in the deepest part of yourself, that one day you will embrace them again, and the joy of that moment will be all the greater because you stayed, you walked your path, and you lived your life to its very end.